This video is for the astrology and zodiac moms, the granola moms, the gentle parenting moms who are raising a child with big feelings. Some of us are just naturally predisposed to having really big feelings. And as an astrologer, I can look at a person's chart and be able to tell how big do the feelings get? How expressive are we? How often do the feelings change? How quick is a person at being able to acknowledge those shifts and to communicate them when they're in relationships with others? Some zodiac signs are just going to be more prone to experiencing big emotions, all the water signs as you predicted. Other zodiac signs have explosive emotions, Scorpio and Aries, and then other zodiac signs have a lot of intense emotions that they repress. As a parent, it's important to know how your child experiences emotions and how to best support them with that. Emotionally intelligent children are more likely to be successful in life because they're better able to assess their abilities as well as read the room. One of the tips that I utilize with my own kid that has done wonders with our relationship is instead of shying away from emotions, which is what naturally I want to do because I was raised in a home where emotions is not something that we talked about. I was raised in the home by emotionally mature parents, so we didn't really converse very much about how we felt. There weren't a lot of conversations around that, and a lot of times when emotions were expressed, there was a lot of effort put in on my parents' part to shut it down, by any means necessary. Sometimes, depending on what was going on, it was either if you keep that crying, I will give you something to cry about. My parents didn't quite say that, but you get the theme. Or sometimes it was, what do you need right now so that this crying can stop? What do you want? And sometimes it was like, I'm just going to pretend like it's not happening. Or sometimes it's, oh my God, you're overreacting. I'm just going to try to make light of it so we can both be laughing about it. None of these reactions are appropriate, okay? My parents obviously know much more now than they did when I was younger, but I just want to be clear about that. So, but when you grew up as that child, you associate a lot of triggers with big emotions. As an example, when my daughter was younger, when she would cry, it used to really trigger me because it reminded me of when I cried. And when I cried, usually my cries were met with a negative experience, whether it was because I was being scolded, I was being punished, I was being threatened, or I was being hit for crying. So I associate a child crying with danger. So when she cries, I'm afraid for her and I'm afraid for me. So it was a huge trigger, even though naturally children are supposed to cry. So these are things that I've had to work through when she was very young. Now that she's at the age where she can communicate, the next step of that journey for me has been acknowledging that I'm raising a child with big emotions, creating an environment where we can discuss it. I teach her words about emotions so that she can tell me what she's feeling when she's feeling things. That's number one. Number two, whenever she's having a huge emotional expression, I am curious about it. There used to be a time when he made me scared or made me feel overwhelmed. Now I'm generally curious. And what I've learned from being curious is that she really wants to talk about it. And it's not even so much that she wants the problem resolved as she is happy that I am noticing that she's experiencing something and she wants to share more about it. I'll give you an example. The other night, it was bedtime. We'd been having a wonderful time together. She doesn't want to go to bed. So what she's going to do is throw a tantrum about every little thing during the bedtime routine because she doesn't want to go to bed. Mind you, this is a 5-year-old. She doesn't have all the language together yet to express all of that, okay? So we finally get through the routine, and then it's time to actually say goodnight. Then she starts throwing a huge tantrum over something else that we've already talked about before that didn't have an immediate solution. So in that moment, I know it's not about that thing because it doesn't make logical sense. So then I know it's about something else. So then I ask her, how do you feel right now? Are you feeling angry? And then she said, no, I feel sad. So for her, when she acts angry, it's because she's sad. But if I hadn't asked that, I would have actually walked away from that encounter thinking that she was angry that she had to go to bed when it was bedtime. But no, she was sad because she wanted to spend more time. She wanted to have more fun. So then I asked her, how big is the sadness? Is it this big? Is it this big? Is it this big? Is it this much sad? Is it this much sad? What does it look like? And just me being goofy and silly with that, she starts cackling because I never asked her before in these big silly gestures. And she goes, what do you think? Because that's the kind of kid I have, okay? What do you think? She says. So I said, I think it's about this big. And then she goes, no, it's this big. In that moment, what I learned is that I overestimate the intensity of her emotions because my sensitivity and my history, with parenting, with being parented by emotionally mature parents, causes me to have this innate fear of emotions that still lingers. Even though I have migrated to a place in my healing where I am welcoming of her intense emotions, I still put too much sauce on my chip. I still overestimate how angry she is or how sad she feels, because to me, any amount of it is too much, apparently. So when she's feeling this sad, I think it's this sad. But really, it's just this sad. She just wants to express it and move on. Had I not done that exercise with her that day, I would have never known that. And I would have gone through my entire life thinking, man, she's got a lot of big, intense feelings. And no, the feelings aren't as intense and as big as I think they are. Yes, they may be intense, but no, the feelings are not as big as I think they are. To her, they're not as big. To her. Not to me, to her. Just because I feel overwhelmed when she's giving me her big emotions and her big feelings doesn't mean that she experiences them to be as big as I perceive them to be. The beautiful thing about that encounter, which is why I'm sharing it with other moms, is that it opened my eyes to a reality I would have never otherwise known, which is that I have a very skewed perception of what's happening with my child emotionally when things are happening. And more importantly, she's more interested in me being curious about her emotional world than she is about me fixing it or her immediately feeling better. Because when we got done with that exchange, she felt better. In fact, she felt better immediately as I took some curiosity about it, because she really just wanted to talk about it. So then we wrapped it up by me saying, I'm sorry, baby, but it's time for bed. I know you don't want to go, but you've got to go. So what can I do to make you feel better? And then out of nowhere, she hands me a guitar, a kid's guitar, and she's like, play the guitar. So then I start to jam out because I'm silly and goofy and I'm a Sagittarius and a clown. So then I put on a little show, razzle dazzle. Okay, baby, let's wrap it up now. It's time to go to bed. She went to bed, no problems, because she got to control something. She got to control something at the end of this encounter, and she got to express herself. And for kids with big emotions, control is a big deal, and being heard is a big deal. So if your child has any of these placements, please get curious about their emotional world. Get curious about your emotional world. Create a safe space where they can talk about their feelings and acknowledge feelings as a normal part of life. At least work on it. At least try.